board. Okay, awesome. Well, we'll get started here. So, can everyone see my screen okay? Can someone give me a thumbs up? You saw it transition just now? Yep, okay, great. Perfect. Before we get started, I'd like to give a land acknowledgement. Missoula Food Bank and Community Center respectfully acknowledges that we are on the traditional and ancestral territory of the Salish and Upper Kalispel and Pend Oreille people who have stewarded the land throughout the generations and continue to do so today. Not only acknowledging that we are on this beautiful land, but also taking some time to feel gratitude for being able to do all the really amazing work that we do every single day here together on this land. I also want to acknowledge that, again, this is a good place for me to meet new volunteers and get to know who's all generously donating their time in this building or is spending some time here in one way or another. And so this is just a good opportunity for me to get to know folks, but also for you to get to know other new team members as well. There's also not a lot of, I'm talking a lot throughout this presentation, so there's not a ton of participation. So this is just a nice way to break it up a little bit as well. If you wouldn't mind sharing your name and the pronouns you use and how long you've been volunteering here at the food bank and what job it is that you're doing here at the food bank and what's your favorite snack. This also helps me take attendance so that we can check you off the list. So I'm going to start. My name is Caitlin. I use she, her pronouns. I've been working here at the food bank for a little over 8 years. I've done a few jobs, but I'm currently the director of operations. And my favorite snack is pretzels. Who would like to go next?
I'll go.
I'll go next. Wait, Chris?
Go right ahead, Christian.
Okay, thank you. My name's Christian, and I use she, her pronouns, and I'm outside right now because this is where I could get online right now. But let's see. Oh, I've done 2 volunteer shifts so far. And I am at the front area doing data intake.
Cool. Thank you for being here, Christian.
Yeah, and my favorite snack is celery sticks.
Nice. Love it. Crunchy. All right. Who's next?
Thanks, Christian. I'll go ahead. I'm Chris Vaughn. Go by he, him. I haven't volunteered. I just did the other part of the orientation a week or two ago. So I'm looking forward to getting in and volunteering. And my favorite snack lately, it's been bacon. And I wish
Ooh.
I were sitting outside because it looks like a nice day to be out there.
I know. I was thinking that too. Great. Looks beautiful out there. Well, thank you so much, Chris. I'm excited to have you here.
I can certainly do mine. Hi, my name's Maddie. My pronouns are she, her. I am currently the operations assistant, so I've been working there for about 3 months, but I did volunteer for about 2 years before that, and I did a little bit of everything from, working up front as a greeter and RA, and then did some like repacking and sorting as well. So worn a lot of different volunteer hats since I started volunteering. And my favorite snack is probably, I don't know, a protein bar of whatever variety is available.
Nice. Thanks for being here, Maddie.
I'll go next. Nicole Knight, she, her pronouns. I've been volunteering for about 2 months doing data intake, data entry, and RA. And I would say my favorite snack is chips and salsa.
Ooh, that is a good one. Thank you, Nicole, and thanks for doing all those important positions.
I can go next. My name is April. It's not Gabe. I'm on my partner's Zoom for some reason, but my name's April. New volunteer, just had my orientation yesterday, and my favorite snack is chocolate.
Awesome. Thank you, April, and thanks for clarifying your name.
I'm Don Brandon. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you, Don.
Okay, I have been back for about 3 weeks. I was at the old food bank for about 9 years. I'm a boxer. My favorite snack is probably chocolate.
Great. Thanks, Don. Good to have you back.
Yeah.
I can go. My name is Olivia. She, her. I just met with Marcus last week, so I haven't had the chance to volunteer. And I will most likely just be a substitute because I can't commit to the same day every single week. So yeah, I'm excited to get to learn a bunch of the different jobs around the food bank. And my favorite snack is string cheese.
Nice. That is also one of my favorites. And that's exciting that you're doing all kinds of different jobs. Thank you so much, Olivia.
Hi, I'm
My name
Brian
is
Terry.
Tom. Oh, go ahead,
Uh,
Brian.
Thank you. He, him. I volunteered in January this year, and I've worked 3 shifts, various positions. I want to get to know all of the various options. Thank you. Oh, favorite food,
Fantastic.
chocolate chip cookie.
Oh, yum, yum. Awesome. Well, that's great that you want to learn so many positions. That's so helpful. Thank you so much.
My name is Thomas Bassett. I just had my volunteer interview about an hour ago. My first day
Fantastic.
volunteering is tomorrow morning. I'll be doing data entry. My pronouns are he, him, and my favorite snack is fig bars from Costco.
Nice. Oh, I love those big bars. Good job getting this all done right away. Crossing it off the list. Thank you. Right. And maybe Aaron or Karen, if you're able to speak. If you can't, no worries.
Well, my name is Steve. Can you hear?
Yes, Steve, thank you.
Yeah, it's not Karen, it's Steve. I'm a relatively new resident in town, but I just felt compelled to help out since I'm retired, and uh, I like smoked salmon.
Ooh, I love that. Thank you. Steve, can you tell me your last name really quick?
Joynt, like your elbow or your knee
Oh,
joint, but
just
spelled with a Y.
gotcha. Perfect. Just like it's on the screen. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Perfect. All right. And then Aaron, if you're available, no worries if you're not. Give it a second here. Okay. We'll get started. Thank you all so much for taking the time to introduce yourselves. I'm so excited to meet you all. This is an awesome group of people doing a lot of different things. So this is really fun. As we get started here, I want to kind of set the foundation of what the food bank is all about, why we're here every day, and that really is our mission. So I want to talk about our mission for a second. Our mission drives us to do what we do every single day. Our mission is to lead the movement to end hunger through advocacy, volunteerism, and healthy food for all. We nourish community. It's a really big and bold and loaded mission, and that is intentional. Knowing that we can't do this alone, but we do really want to end hunger. And so knowing that we can't do this alone, we can work as a community, we can be the leaders in the movement to end hunger, but we know it's such a broad, there's a broad spectrum of issues that fall under ending hunger. And so we want to be a part of this bigger movement throughout our community, throughout our nation, to work towards long-term solutions to ending hunger and making sure people have what they need to sustain themselves. And some of those components, pulling out a little bit, you see volunteerism listed right in our mission. It's so critical to our mission that it's listed right there. We could not do all of this alone. It takes a community effort to pull all of this off every single day. Your time is critical to the solution in making sure that our community feels supported and that we can operate all of our many programs. We also know that the direct service work that we do every single day is not the only part of the solution, and that's where advocacy comes into play. We care a lot about advocating for long-term solutions to hunger issues in our community, knowing that in the short term, we could, feed people all day, every day, serve food all day, every day. But finding those long-term solutions really is how we're going to end hunger. And so that's where advocacy comes in, which I'll talk about a bit later. And then lastly, that healthy food for all piece. We're about food here, right? It's a food pantry is what most of you know it as, and also a community center, but really it revolves around food. So we care not only about providing food in general, but making sure the food we provide, that there's nutritious and healthy options so people can not just get by, but truly feel nourished. Which brings me to the last part of our mission, is that we nourish community, literally through healthy food, but also in that more figurative sense of the word, where lots of people coming together to support one another brings a sense of overall nourishment to oneself. And I would say one of the most profound ways in which I see community nourishment happen here at the food bank is truly through our volunteer program, where people from all different walks of life, all different beliefs, all different backgrounds come together to make sure people in our community don't go without. And I think that's a really beautiful thing that happens here at the food bank every day. Related to our mission is our vision. Our vision helps design our programs so that we can best serve the community based on what we and the community see is an ideal place to live. Oops. So Missoula Food Bank and Community Center envisions a community that embraces food justice, where everyone is food secure. Those most impacted are a leading voice in the solutions to poverty and hunger. We believe that people who are closest to the issue at hand should be at the decision-making tables. For an example, our board of directors, which is the highest level of decision-making in our organization, passed a bylaw several years ago now that states at least 50% of our board of directors must be made of people who have low income or have had low income in the last 5 years. We believe people who have experienced poverty or food insecurity firsthand know the situation better than anyone. And so who best to be making the decisions about that exact work? So that's just one example in which we make sure people who are most impacted are the leading voices. No one feels shame or experiences stigma when asking for help. And that happens, one, by having this, beautiful building where shopping at a food pantry doesn't have to be this dingy warehouse experience and can be a more dignified experience for folks, reducing stigma in that way. But also being a community center where there's lots of different things going on at once. We're more than just a food bank here. So when you see someone walk through the doors, maybe people are shopping for food. There's a list of 10 other reasons why someone might be here. Maybe they're coming to hang out in Empower Place. Maybe they're here for a medical appointment up at Partnership Health Center. Maybe they're here to volunteer, right? We have so many volunteers. So lots of different reasons why people would be in our facility. And we hope that having kind of a one-stop shop, lots of things under one roof, can help reduce stigma in that way. I also think people, I think this bullet point happens by all of us as individuals doing our part to create a really welcoming environment where people don't feel ashamed to be here. We also envision a community where every child is nourished and has an equal opportunity to learn, grow, and succeed. We have so many kids programs that I'll talk about because we know that children are our future, and what we do now and how we can impact folks now can make a long-term impact on people moving forward in life. And when we're really thinking about the upstream issues to ending hunger, this is one of the big ones, is starting when children are young, and knowing that how much nourishment and nutrition folks get early on in life can affect things later in life. We also envision a community where seniors have access to the food they need, regardless of mobility, transportation, or health barriers. So I'll talk about some senior nutrition programs that we have. Social safety net programs are recognized as part of the solution. So I mentioned we do long-term visioning for what it looks like to end hunger and advocate for long-term solutions. We know that social safety net programs, which are oftentimes more in the immediate term, are critical as well. People need help right here, right now. And so we do recognize that the food bank or things more federally supported, such as SNAP or WIC, make a big difference as well. And of course, we envision a community where everyone can afford their basic needs and don't have to go without. So we have lots of programs designed based on that big vision for our community. interwoven between all of our programs and at the foundation of all of the work that we do really is our core values. Our values we hold in high regard and talk openly about and are a big part of the conversation when we're making big decisions about our work. I'm going to be talking a lot in this presentation, and if for some reason you can't retain it all because there's a lot of information, if you can just remember one thing, it's really this first bullet point right here. And that's we respect and treat every person with dignity, empathy, and equity. Those are our core values, and it is critical that we use them in all of our interactions with folks and that they are the foundation and the basis of all of our programming and all of the work that we do here. So if you can't remember anything else, please just remember that one thing. For everyone and always, dignity, empathy, and equity. We also believe that access to nutritious food is a basic right of every person. When I was talking about our vision, I talked about kiddos, talked about aging adults, and everyone in between. We believe everyone deserves good food. We also respect the concept of customer choice in available food, in the selection of available food. So you'll see that in our store, where we believe that people being able to make their own decisions about what they're taking home and what they're putting into their bodies is a much more dignified choice for folks. We also provide compassionate service that is proactive, innovative, and collaborative. The services that we provide often include lots of community partners, and we have to think really creatively about how to meet communities' needs, not alone, but together. So we really work hard to collaborate with each other as staff team members, but also with the community at large. We are excellent stewards of our resources. We so value all of the amazing resources that we have access to, which is, might be a donated dollar or a donated food item or your donated time. All of those really generous donations that we receive mean a lot to us, and we want to make sure that we are putting them to the very best use possible. We act with openness, integrity, and accountability. We have really high goals for ourselves, and we talk openly about what we're trying to achieve and hold ourselves accountable to meeting those goals. And we advocate, again, for solutions to hunger. We wouldn't be doing this work if there wasn't a drive to end hunger. And at the end of the day, our goal is to, in some ways, make our work a little bit less, right? Knowing that we want people to have what they need to feel nourished. We also have more values that I want to talk about that is related to this organizational code of conduct that you signed when you filled out your volunteer application. All of our staff members have signed it, our practicum students, interns sign it. It's a document that helps us to have a tool to, again, hold ourselves accountable, as one of our core values is accountability, to being the community resource that we are and to supporting the populations that we aim to support. So Missoula Food Bank and Community Center is a nonpartisan, anti-racist, LGBTQ 2S+ ally organization. Our facility and programs operate under the highest equitable standards in order to promote justice for everyone. So that first little paragraph there really, again, kind of states our values. We are an organization that works to be an ally organization and aims to be a brave space and a welcoming space for all community members to be a part of. And so with our core values of dignity, empathy, and equity, and with our mission I already talked about, it's critical that we demonstrate our values in our interactions and in the work that we do. So to kind of dive more into that and just to be clear about what that means for us. To be an anti-racist organization means that we aim to dismantle systems of oppression that are harmful to the BIPOC community, Black, Indigenous, and people of color. We care a lot about the root causes of hunger and, again, ending hunger in the long term. And we recognize racism as a root cause of hunger because outcomes are different for people with different ancestral backgrounds. And so if we're going to end hunger, we have to care about racism. We also aim to be an LGBTQ 2S+ ally organization. We have, and I forgot, sorry, I'm going to back up a little bit. with our anti-racism work, we also have an anti-racism task force. I need to add a bullet point here because we just got that group up and running for the second time, which is a group of people who helps advise our work through that specific racial justice and racial equity lens, and really helps us to make decisions to inform the work that we do in a way that is, again, dismantles systems of oppression and supports people of color in our community. We also have the bullet point I was just about to talk about, a queer coalition that helps guide our practices to better support the queer community through that specific lens as well. So again, the people in the populations that we're serving, being a leading voice at the table. And so having these kind of advisory committees to make sure that the work we're doing is in line with our values and is in line with the values of the populations we're serving is critical. And we talk about these communities specifically because we know historically marginalized communities experience insecurity at a disproportionate rate. The amount of people of color in our community is disproportionate to the amount of people of color who utilize our services. About 25% of the people who utilize our services are people of color, where I believe it's either 9 or 11% of our Missoula population are people of color. So it's disproportionate. And so we know that we have to be an organization that recognizes that and what our part in that work is. So the code of conduct is kind of two parts here. One is that it is asking you as a volunteer, me as a staff member, new interns, right? Anyone who's part of our organization to be in line with our values as a representative of our organization when working here at the food bank. And that simply is not too complicated, is treating all with dignity and equity, always and specifically, without regard to gender, race, color, creed, ancestry, and this whole list of categorizations listed below. It's simple, and that's we treat all with dignity and equity. So that's the one part, is that signing this means we're going to do that when we're here in this organization. The second part is also speak up if you see something that feels out of line with our values, right? So if you see something that feels that didn't feel appropriate or felt a little off or felt like someone was being mistreated, it's really important to let people know, because the only way we can make things better is if we can know what's happening and make sure people are being treated fairly within our organization. So I let a staff person know. I'm going to show my name tag here. It's this green name tag. Any person with a green name tag is a staff person here and is a great person to talk to if you have any concerns about someone acting out of line with our code of conduct. Again, this code of conduct is a tool to use to hold ourselves accountable, but I have found that our volunteer team are some of the kindest people that I have ever met, and I regularly see beautiful and dignified and empathetic and equitable experiences here at the food bank. So I just want to give that note as well. And we talk about equity, and which we talk a lot about in our work. I just want to just be clear about how it's different from equality. Equality means everyone gets the same thing, and therefore, that only works if people have the same starting point, because the outcomes aren't always going to be the same, even if everyone gets the same thing. So in the picture on the left, you can see some folks trying to look over a fence, and equality says you all get a box so that you can all see over the fence, which would work great if everyone were the same height, right? On the picture on the left, you can see what equity looks like. Equity recognizes that we're all at different starting points. The tallest person there doesn't even need any help. That person doesn't need a box. They can already see over the fence. They're doing fine. That doesn't mean they need something to support them. They don't need support. Not everyone needs the same amount of support. The person in the middle, they need 2 boxes to see over the fence. The person on the right in the wheelchair, they don't even need a box. They need a ramp. They need a whole different set of tools to be able to see over the fence. And so equity acknowledges, okay, we all need different things. And so how can we best do our best to recognize the various needs of our community members and support people based on that, and not on the premise that everyone deserves the same thing, right? And that's where the difference is, which is challenging because everyone is at a different point in their lives, right? But I think our organization does a great job at recognizing the various needs and working hard to meet them. So just to be clear about what that means compared to equality. So now that we've talked about our values and kind of what we as an organization stand for, I want to talk about our programs, which is a big part of what we do, and where you're all really going to be volunteering is within our many, many programs. So I wonder if anyone has any wild guesses about how many people served, about how many people were served last year in our store program. And I will give a little caveat. When I say last year, I'm still referring to 2023 numbers. We're still finalizing our 2024 numbers. It takes some time. So any wild guesses on how many people we served just in our store alone? No wild guesses?
I'll say 30,000.
30,000. Hey, thanks for your guess.
Are those individual visits or individual persons?
The individual persons. Yep, unique persons. So unduplicated. It was a great guess. I'm going to let us go with it here. It was 24,000 unique individuals in 2023. So a lot of people in our community. If you think about how big Missoula is, we usually kind of think of this as about 1 in 5 individuals utilize our services, which is a lot, right? We've got, gosh, I don't even know, 15, 13 people on this call, something like that. A lot of people in our community need a little bit of support. As you can see, the largest chunk of that pie is adults between ages 18 and 54. About 33% of the amount of people we serve is children. And so we know people coming in here are often people who have families, and so shopping for their families. And so that's how that number gets calculated in there. And aging adults. Our pie chart has honestly stayed pretty consistent with in terms of ages of the people we serve. And we've also kind of seen a pretty consistent number of people we serve over the last few years. We had a massive jump during COVID, and it's kind of stayed up at that jump for a while now. So this is kind of our new normal, if you will. We're at this plateau and working hard to sustain the work that we do because it's busy, and with threats to safety net programs such as SNAP or other government funded programs, we anticipate our services are going to be needed probably more now than ever before, as there's some big challenges that are happening throughout our country and throughout our community. So our store is a place where anyone can come shop and get groceries. When folks first arrive into our store, we have folks fill out an intake form that asks some questions on it about household size, income, which resources people are connected to, none of which affects whether or not people are going to get food or even how much food people are getting. It just helps us to understand the populations we're serving so we can make organizational decisions around that and see how to better meet folks' needs. So everyone is guaranteed to leave with food. People can shop up to once per calendar week. And we have shopping cards that have quantities on them and signs throughout our store to help determine how much food people are taking home, but kind of based on household size. And we are set up just like a grocery store. That's why we call it a store. We want it to be a dignified space where people can choose the food that they're taking home for themselves. So that's where we have a lot of people volunteer. Many of you are volunteering in our store, going to be volunteering in our store. It's a busy place, and we try to keep our hours as accessible as possible. So we're open 3 evenings a week till 7, and then Wednesday and Friday just till 1, and we are closed on the weekends. But that is our store, which is probably what most people think of when they think of the food bank. What many people might not know is that we actually also have some satellite pantries that operate similarly in terms of being a food pantry, but just outside of this location in more rural areas in our community. So we have a pantry in Lolo that operates, it's been operating for a while. I don't even know how long at this point. On the first and third Wednesday of the month. And then we have one in Bonner and Clinton, also on the first and third Wednesday of the month. And then we have two pantries actually at schools, at Lowell and Russell Elementary School. So we've, worked hard to expand food access out into the community. Particularly, we started with rural areas just to help widen that circle of food security, knowing that it's hard for people living on the outskirts to get into town, but food insecurity still exists. And with the schools, we have focused on schools that have a particularly higher need of food resources for the kids and the families who partake in those particular areas of town and those schools. So those are our satellite pantries, and they're operated. We provide all the food, but just operated by mostly volunteers at those spaces, which is cool. I mentioned we have some senior nutrition programs. I would also call them delivery programs. Roots is once a month home delivery service to about 400 low-income aging adults in our community, people ages 16 over. It is a federally funded program completely. So we, all of the food is we get a little bit of say in which, in what we decide to accept through this program and distribute through this program. But a lot of it is, predetermined because it is federally funded. But it's all shelf stable, which allows people who are getting this home delivery to be able to keep food in their pantry for a while and have some kind of backstock for a little while in case people are having a hard time getting out, which really is the intention of this being a delivery service. We know that people who are aging might have transportation or mobility issues or health barriers that make it so that it's hard to leave their home to get groceries. So that's how this program helps. Volunteers, all volunteer delivery drivers, drop off these food boxes to folks' homes in our community, which is not only a cool service just to bring food right to someone's doorstep, but also to have that kind of personal check-in. People who are living, who are homebound are often living alone and maybe don't get to communicate with people too terribly often. So in some ways it is kind of a little bit of a wellness check, but also some really positive relationship building later in life, which is really important to aging with dignity, which is something we care about. So that's the second Thursday of every month. We have a program called Fresh Food Box, which is on the fourth Thursday of every month. That is also a home delivery service. But instead of shelf-stable food, it's fresh food like produce, bread, meat, and dairy items. Very unique to the food bank, Fresh Food Box is the one program we have that people pay for. All of the food that we have is free, and so this is very unique. But we purchase the food at wholesale cost, so much cheaper than folks could get in a grocery store generally. And we sell it back at essentially the same price to make food a little bit more accessible. People can also use their SNAP dollars to pay for this service, which makes it even more accessible because there's a discounted rate for folks who are paying with SNAP. So a regular box without SNAP is like $15, and then a small box is like $7.50 or something. And then those prices are even cut in half when paying with SNAP. So that's pretty cool, really stretches the food dollar further. And again, the intention of this program is for folks who are homebound. So originally we designed it as a program to kind of complement Roots. So this is our program, not a federally funded program. But we've since expanded it to folks living with disabilities, or anyone who lacks reliable access to resources to get out of the house. More recently, we have expanded this service to go to high schools. We have learned through conversations with FRCs and counselors at the schools that there are a number of high school students that essentially are kind of like head of household and have to take care of themselves or take care of their family members. And so we've got some boxes that are sponsored to go to high school students so they can bring home to their families We have about 30 high school students receiving these boxes every month. So pretty cool resource for folks in the community. I mentioned we have a lot of kids programs. All of our kids programs really are designed to fill the gap when school isn't happening. We work really closely with Missoula County Public Schools to ensure children have their nutritional needs met. We know that many children in our community rely on free and reduced lunch programs. I'm going to answer a quick question in the chat. How many participants typically for fresh food box? What is typically a cost of a box? For fresh food box, good question. I didn't mention this. I believe we have 150-ish folks on fresh food box, so much less than Roots. We have the ability to expand that program, so we're always trying to get the word out to folks who might be homebound and could really benefit from this program. And the large box is about $15, and the small box is, I think, $7.50. And then if you pay with SNAP, I believe the large box is closer to 10, and the small box is closer to 4. So really significant price difference there. Good question. With our kids programs, we know that many students rely on free and reduced lunch programs and have access to both breakfast and lunch at school through those programs. What happens outside of those hours is where we feel like we can jump in and provide a little support if there are families and children who are needing some support with nutrition. So we have a program called Kids Table, which is a year-round program where in the school year, we do after-school snacks or after-school meals for different after-school youth programs in our community. Each meal has, or snack, has a bunch of nutritional components in it that are have to meet specific nutrition guidelines based on the CACFP program, which funds this program. And could easily supplement as a dinner if folks weren't getting great nutrition at home. In the school year, we do breakfast and lunch and snacks all summer long. Did I say school year? I meant to say summer. In the summertime, we do free breakfast, lunch, and snacks all summer long because we know that's a big kind of stressful time for kids and families. Not having that access of meals at school, many families are left wondering, what am I going to do about feeding my kiddos? So having this resource has been incredible. It's big program. Just to kind of give you some context, during the after school hours, so that's where we call it Kids Table Out of School, we did about a little over 70,000 meals last year, or 2023. And then in the summertime, we do about 65,000 meals in that 3-month period. So almost the same amount of meals from a 3-month period to a 9-month period, which I say all that to say summer is crazy. It's so busy. We are serving so many meals, over 700 meals on most days. It's a lot and takes a ton of volunteer support to pull off because we have to ramp up our production numbers. We add a ton of volunteers in the summer just to help make sandwiches, help put together meals, pack meals. In the summertime, you'll see a picture of that bus there. That bus goes out to 5 different stops in our community where there might be a particular need for some access to meals and resources such as this one. So we go to the university villages, we go to Futura, Travoy Village, a couple other spots, but just to kind of give a sense of where in our community this bus has helped support folks. The bus plays a song, kind of like an ice cream truck. So when the bus rolls up, kids know it's time for breakfast and lunch. So it's really fun and pretty special. We also, in the summertime, partner with different kind of recreational or like activity organizations to have activities going on while the bus is there. So we partnered with Parks and Rec to have like some kind of physical activity, lunching, or what is it? Moving and munching is that one. We partnered with Arts Missoula to have kind of an art project going on while the bus is there so kids can eat and do art. So just to kind of not only make sure children are getting fed, but also having those activities and extracurricular things helps to reduce summer learning loss, which happens. Kids get, are doing their kid thing in the summertime and learning loss happens. So keeping kids engaged is pretty cool thing. The other program on this list is Kids Table School Day. So this is during the school day when, kids are getting access to free breakfast and lunch, but sometimes kids miss breakfast or the lunch, they couldn't eat the lunch or didn't like the lunch, right? Or kids are just growing and hungry, but sometimes kids need nutrition just during the day before school is out. And we know that if kids are hungry, they have a harder time learning. That is a fact. And we know learning can then impact how they develop, how they have positive relationships. And so making sure kids always have a full belly, don't have to worry about food, and can worry about learning and developing can make a longer term impact. So that's our Kids Table program. We also have our Kids Empower Pack program, which are packs of food that go home with kids over the weekend. So we fill that weekend gap when kids aren't in school at all. Each pack has a couple breakfasts, a couple lunches, a couple dinners, and some snacks in between to make sure nutritional needs are met from lunch on Friday till breakfast at school on Monday. The meals that are in the Empower Packs are all really easy to put together, shelf stable. We supplement with some fresh fruit every week. But distributed through for kids of all ages, from early Head Start, so 0 to 3, little kids, all the way to high school. It's a big program. We're distributing about 1,500 every single week right now. We do not have any federal funding for this program. So this happens because of generous private donations in our community. Each pack with food costs alone is about $6. So it's a big program that requires a ton of community support, and we're so grateful to be able to continue offering it. Aside from the financial support we need, it takes a lot of bodies to put together 1,500 packs every week. Usually we have a couple of builds throughout the month where we build 1,000 or so, usually 1,500 to 3,000 packs at once to get us through for a few weeks. And to get out to all of the different schools. So it's a really meaningful program, and something of all of our programs, this is the program that has actually really grown this last year. The other kids program we have, this is our final one, is our Kids Empower Place, which is a physical space on the front side of our building where children can explore, learn, play, engage in any extracurricular activities that might be happening in that space. It's a partnership between Missoula Public Library and Spectrum. So we work together to staff that space, essentially open whenever our store is open. We just close at 6 instead of 7. But we know that, again, thinking upstream about longer term impacts for children, we know that, again, how kids develop and learn and grow early on in life makes a really big impact on what their later in life looks at. So that's kind of the intention of this space, is knowing not all extracurricular activities are accessible to all kiddos. Many times they cost money and not everyone has that same access. So having a place that is free, where there's free learning opportunities, there's free programming, is really cool. Aside from that, it's just a really special place where community is nourished and relationships are built from the kiddos in that space, but also the caregivers. I would say that space is just as much for caregivers as it is for children, to be able to connect with other caregivers and provide support for one another. And of course, we offer meals in this space when school is out, during the school year, after school, and during the summertime. So it's really busy after school and during the summertime. Another part of the work that we do is our Bill and Rosemary Gallagher Learning Kitchen. We have a full demonstration kitchen upstairs in our building. If you've never seen it, next time you're in a building, hop upstairs and just look at it. It's so beautiful. It's a gorgeous space that provides us with the opportunity to offer cooking classes. We offer this space for free for anyone in the community who wants to use it. So sometimes people put on their own cooking classes or their own programming that might be for a special group or sometimes open to the public. But we have anywhere from 2 to 4 cooking classes a month that are free and open to the public that we put on as volunteers or sometimes staff. Truly just mostly volunteers who just want to share a skill or a special meal they want to teach out into the community. Because it's free and open to the public, we have to have folks sign up, of course, because limited space. But we have had classes where there's a volunteer, a customer, a donor, someone who's never been to the food bank before, kind of all just working alongside each other to make a meal together, which is really special and a way in which I also see community nourished in this space. So again, it's free and open to the public in terms of utilizing this space. We try to make sure our resources are a bigger part of the community. So sometimes people rent the space just for like using the conference room area, but sometimes we have groups like the YMCA use the space to teach kids after school snacks, how to cook after school snacks. Our Garden City Harvest used to use this space a ton with their youth harvest program. Lots of different ways to utilize the space. So I mentioned this a little bit in the beginning, but we are more than just a food bank. Our name is Missoula Food Bank and Community Center for a reason. There's more going on here than just food banking because we know that access to food is just one part of the bigger picture. People who are experiencing food insecurity or experiencing poverty, living in poverty, usually have a multitude of things that are part of this bigger issue. We know that food insecurity and not having enough food is just one part of, or just a symptom of the root causes of hunger. And so having access to other community resources that address the root causes of hunger is really critical to our mission and making sure we're actually tackling the real issues that cause hunger. So when we think about what are the root causes of hunger, I mentioned racism being a root cause of hunger. We also know housing is a root cause of hunger. We have been in a housing crisis in our community for a while now. Housing prices are super high, not enough housing, medical costs are high, and wages are low, right? All of lots of different reasons why people need a little support. So having resources right in-house that can address some of those issues can make a big difference and be a one-stop shop for people who are constantly getting the runaround to go find this resource, go get help here, go here, go here. And if we can have as much under one roof as possible, we can make a broader impact. So some of the community partners that live in our building to address some of those issues are Partnership Health Center, Housing Advocate Network. They have office hours every Tuesday from 2 to 4 in the conference room to help navigate housing issues with folks. WIC is Women, Infants, and Children, and they have office hours here on Monday and Thursday from 8:30 to 4:30, and can connect people with caregivers with kids 5 and under to extra nutritional resources too. And we're constantly trying to add more folks into our spaces to provide more resources. So touching a little bit more on those root causes of hunger, I mentioned that housing is one of the top reasons people indicate as needing to use the food bank. On that intake form that people fill out when they shop at the food bank, we ask, what is bringing people to the food bank? What are the things that are making it challenging? Again, not so it affects whether or not people get food, but just so we know what is going on in the community that we can maybe help address if we want to advocate for longer term solutions. So here from those surveys, we learned, and people can choose a lot of different reasons, so that's why this doesn't equal 100%. But high housing costs is 65% of respondents said that is why they don't have enough food and need to use the food bank. Low wages being 55%, food costs being 46%. So a lot of people experiencing these same things that make it so it's hard to have food at the end of the day. And that's where we step in and provide a little bit of help. Diving deeper into racism and classism, We know that Indigenous communities have long been stripped of food sovereignty due to forced displacement by the government, including lack of decision-making ability around federal nutrition programs. That's just one example of how race-related issues can impact people's food security. On top of facing barriers to paid work due to citizenship status and racial discrimination in the job market and workplace, undocumented and immigrant families are often excluded from federal programs such as SNAP. Another example of how race-related issues can impact food insecurity. In December of 2023, more than 41.4 million people received SNAP in the United States. I've talked about SNAP a lot already, and I'm sorry I haven't made sure it's clear what that is. It's the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which is essentially federal food dollars put on an EBT card that people can use at the grocery store to help supplement some food costs. So of all of those 41.4 million folks on SNAP, women were more than half of non-elderly SNAP participants, and about 1 in 3 non-elderly SNAP participants was a woman of color. So just to give some more demographic information around who is experiencing food insecurity and why it matters to us and how we can do work to address the root causes of hunger. I also want to indicate, related to race, that implicit bias is a part of some of the discrimination that happens within federal programs, within the housing market, within the job market, that impacts people. So implicit bias is an unconscious favoritism toward or a prejudice against people of a particular identity or social group. This could be race, ethnicity, gender, physical ability, age, religion, etc. These unconscious and unintentional stereotypes can affect our understanding, our behaviors, and our decisions in an unconscious way. Implicit bias is not something that we have control over. I just want to reiterate that there is nothing wrong with anyone for having implicit bias. It's not our fault. It's just something that has been ingrained into us through experience, through society, and through how we were raised and our upbringing. So you're like, why are you talking about this right now? We're a direct service organization who works directly with the people we serve. And because we work directly with so many people, not just customers walking through our front doors, but with each other. There's so many volunteers we work with on a given day, with our staff team, with people dropping off donations. There's a lot of people walking through our doors. So as a service organization, how we interact with people matters, and how our biases impact our interactions matters. So that's why we're talking about this. So thinking about when we experience implicit bias, what it might feel like is when a judgment comes up. So I want you to just think about for yourself. You don't need to share. But what do you do when a judgment comes up? So think about that. Next time you have an experience where a judgment comes up, which happens, it's natural, we're people, where you're thinking about something that you're not sure why it entered your brain. Think about what to do at that point. And think about some examples of when you most recently experienced a judgment in your brain. Being able to detect and name a judgment can really help unpack and unravel our biases. If we just ignore them and try to push them aside, they might stay a little bit more ingrained in us. But if we acknowledge the bias, like, oh, I recognize that thought that I don't want to be having as a bias that I didn't really control, and be able to name it. I think that's something that's just important for us to think about here. We do some implicit bias training throughout the year, and so I just want to touch on it briefly here because we only have so much time, and it's a bigger topic than a couple-minute conversation deserves. But I do want to start getting the wheels turning because it's something our organization cares deeply about, and that we will continue to talk about throughout your experience here. Mo or Marcus should also be sending some implicit bias links to be able to determine your implicit biases. It's a Harvard study. It only takes like 15, 20 minutes, but it's really impactful just to see what your brain is doing without your control. and without your consent, quite frankly. And so we ask that volunteers take part in those implicit bias tests. Again, not having to share information with anyone, but being able to start to think about it for yourself, to be able to better impact your customer service here at the food bank. Any questions on implicit bias at this time? I know it's a big topic, but I want to give a little space if anyone has questions right now. Okay. It sounds good. Please feel free to reach out to me or another staff member if you want to talk more about that before you do a training. All right. So I talked about tackling some of the root causes of hunger. And that's where our advocacy work comes in. I mentioned that at the beginning of our mission, right? We're going to end hunger through advocacy. So that's working upstream of food insecurity and is essential to ending hunger. So what does advocacy look like? Looks like some of the partnerships I talked about with WIC, Empower Place, Partnership Health Center, etc. Right now, it certainly looks like policy work with elected officials. We are in the middle of a legislative session, which Montana does every 2 years. And it's a big deal. There's lots of bills that are proposed and put on the table to go through the legislative process and get enacted into law. There's a lot of bills that get proposed in just a 3-month period or 90 working days. And a lot of those are related to food security, whether it be directly food related or root causes of hunger related, like housing or something. And so our organization pays super close attention to what is on the table to be enacted into law, for better or for worse. A lot of the time, we see policy related to SNAP. Sometimes we see good policy related to SNAP. A lot of the time, we see policy that is trying to cut SNAP or make SNAP harder to use. And that is where we jump in and really share our voice. We write our legislators, we share testimony in Helena, we speak loudly about how we feel about those programs to better advocate for the people using the programs that we offer, or the programs that are impacting people that we serve. So big time in our organization right now is being in the middle of the legislative session to influence policy makers' decisions as best as we can. We also do application assistance, which feels like a way we can advocate for people who need support. Applications like SNAP and WIC, or not so much WIC, applications like SNAP or LEAP can be really daunting and really challenging. And so having someone to walk through the application process with you can make a huge impact in getting access to that service. So that's what we do to help advocate for people to get access to the resources they need. And then I also want to mention working upstream of food insecurity also looks like engaging those with lived experiences and solutions-based work. I mentioned at the very beginning that we put a high value on people who are most impacted by food insecurity being at the decision-making table. We have a program called Level, which is Lived Experiences, Voices, and Leaders. And it's a small cohort of individuals in our community who have lived experience with food insecurity. And this cohort meets every other week to support one another in the issues that come up with living with food insecurity. And they share stories and they use their voices, and we build up over a span of 9 months to how it can look to openly share stories in a way that is comfortable, effective, and powerful. We've had Level participants share testimony at legislative sessions, during legislative sessions to help influence policy. We've also had Level participants share their story at special events that we host here to just spread the word about what food insecurity can look like. So it's really powerful and really impactful to gather voices led by the participants themselves. It's also a very community building space. and is a pretty cool thing that happens here. We're in the middle of a session right now, and participants are working on building up to sharing stories in May. So we'll see what that looks like. But advocating for and lifting up the voices of people who know the services best, know the experiences best. All right, so I want to talk a bit about what consideration for customers looks like. All of the work that we do really is for the folks we serve. And so I want to open up the conversation really quick. After what you just learned today, and maybe just your, original thoughts, what are some important things to remember when interacting with customers or community members in our space?
Treat people with respect.
Yeah, you got it. You were listening. Yes, treat
Right.
people with respect. Anything else?
Have empathy.
Empathy. Yes, that's a great one. You see something in the chat here. Dignity, equity. Yep, you are all listening. Thanks for listening. That's exactly right. It is essential that volunteers respect each and every person who comes into the food bank and gives each customer a guarantee of confidentiality and the utmost consideration. I want to reiterate that confidential piece again. All information regarding customers must remain confidential. We work in a space where 1 in 5 people in our community use the food bank. You're bound to see someone you know shopping here, or alternatively, you see someone shopping here and then you see someone outside of the food bank. It is our jobs to keep those interactions private for the dignity and respect of people who are utilizing our services. As much as we are working hard to destigmatize using a food bank, it is a personal matter for people to decide if they want to share that or want to make that known to other folks. I will also say that when I encourage confidentiality even amongst each other, right? So you might be wanting to tell your volunteer friend about a really difficult situation that you just encountered. And we can do that in a way that is still respectful of not sharing names, addresses, income, really personal information that we receive on our intake forms from folks. So just being really mindful of that in this space. Also, keeping negative judgments to yourself to maintain a positive environment. As I mentioned, we were talking about implicit bias. Judgment comes up. It is natural. We have judgments every single day at no fault of our own. What we can do is let them move through us, recognize them, but that doesn't mean we have to share them. We really pride ourselves on being this positive space despite the circumstances of being a food bank, right? And so keeping negative thoughts to yourself can make a big impact on that. There, I go again with recognizing when implicit bias pops up. Consideration for customers includes preserving their dignity. Please be respectful of how people react to the situation at hand. People who are walking through our front doors might not be having the very best day in their whole lives. And so just know that if you didn't get that overly friendly hello or that over-the-top thank you when you were finished boxing their groceries, being respectful of how people might be feeling in a situation of crisis when needing emergency food. Also, maintain healthy boundaries. We have the kindest, most generous people volunteering at the food bank. Volunteers inherently are pretty generous and want to give. And so just being mindful of your own boundaries and not giving too much of yourselves. Whether that's needing a little bit of support if you had a difficult interaction, maybe you don't want to work up front all the time. But also things like, giving people money as much as, especially if you're working up front and you hear some pretty challenging situations, you might feel compelled to go above and beyond in your personal life to do something for someone. And I just want to share that that is not expected of you. And it's important to maintain a good boundary for your safety and your comfort. And if you ever have any questions about like, if this person's in a really difficult situation, I really just want to give them $20 so they can get a bus ticket and get out of here, whatever, right? Check in with a staff member first, and we can help navigate the situation with you, is something I'd like to share as well. And yes, oh yeah, Maddie said exactly that. Never be afraid to grab a staff member if you're uncomfortable and need extra support. That's what we're here for. We want to walk through any difficult situations with you and make sure you don't feel alone in figuring something out. And then back to that respect piece, respecting diversity, race, ethnicity, disabilities, etc. So we are so grateful for all of the work that you all do to provide that wonderful customer service experience to folks. Volunteers really are the workforce here who have all those interactions with customers. So that's why we go over that piece, because you're the first person that a customer is going to see and ask for help. We couldn't do this alone. We have about 25, I think it's closer to, I need to update this. I think it's closer to 28 staff members now. But about over 7,000 volunteers, individual, unique volunteers in 2023. Volunteers do so much of the real work here. Volunteers are what make this experience so magical for so many people. Certainly volunteers make this place magical for me, but make the customer experience a positive experience too. So I just want to say we're just grateful to have all the support. And it's a lot of time and energy that you all put into this work. So we appreciate it. So I want to give a little space really quick. You don't all have to answer, and we don't have time for everyone to answer. But would anyone be willing to share why you decided to volunteer and what you think the benefits are? And if no one wants to share, it's okay too.
Yeah, I'm happy to share. So I decided to reach out to Missoula Food Bank because previous to Missoula, I lived in Flagstaff, Arizona, and I had started volunteering there during COVID because I'd heard that a lot of their volunteers were for the elderly community and were choosing not to volunteer because they didn't want to be exposed to COVID. So I started going, and it really gave me some insight and a little bit more of like a finger on the pulse as to what was happening in my own community. And I was actually really surprised by the number of users and I guess kind of like some of the demographics in my community that I didn't realize relied on the food bank. And now that I live here in Missoula, trying to have that similar experience of like getting to know my community more and finding those ways to start serving it.
Thank you so much for sharing. I really, really appreciate that. Yeah, you can learn so much about the community and the people and where the need is in the community simply through volunteering. And that's one thing we've, really noticed here as well. We hope that it's obvious by this point how much of a benefit it is for us, for you to be here. It's a huge benefit to have your volunteer time. We're so grateful. But we want it to be a benefit for you as well. Learning more about hunger issues, learning more about the community is a great benefit to get to know the place. Gaining safe food handling experience and knowledge of basic nutrition, and being part of an organization that is working to end hunger is a really cool thing to get behind and to be a part of. And we hope you make new friends and have fun. I mentioned in the beginning, there's lots of, people with different walks of life, different backgrounds, different beliefs, all coming together to support food insecurity. To support food security, excuse me. But you'll also, I think, find a lot of like-minded people here too, where you can make friends, enjoy your time together in doing this really incredible work. And so that we hope this is a good experience for you as well. Oh, thank you, Christian, for your comment in the chat. Thank you for saying that you've received support from the food bank and being new to Missoula and having unexpected major expense just after moving in. Oh, thank you so much for that. I appreciate you sharing. So, oopsie. Couple more slides. We're almost done here. I'll get you out of here by 1:15. So we hold volunteers responsible to making sure that we are not only providing that good customer service we talked about, but also some safety things that I want to just make sure volunteers are aware of. The golden rule being hand washing. Please, please, please wash your hands. We work with vulnerable populations. We work with food, making sure that we are using good hygiene by washing your hands when you get here is a great practice, and washing your hands probably several times if you're working directly with food. So changing gloves frequently if you touch items besides what you are working with, whether it's your phone, your face. We have lots of gloves, and making sure we're using our very best food safety skills. Also, no food or drink in our repack areas, which is just right outside my office where you see a lot of people packing food. We need to keep our food contained to the break area just for health department regulations. Also, this is probably pretty obvious, but please don't come to work if you're sick just because of the whole food thing and working with vulnerable populations. We know sometimes people have like little sniffles, little coughs that are like, no, I'm not sick anymore. This is just lingering. We've got masks if you need to wear those while you're recovering. For more kind of physical safety, this is a busy, busy place. We have pallet jacks that are constantly on the move, as well as electric forklifts and electric pallet jacks. Those big tools, big instruments, big vehicles, I guess is the right word, have the right of way. So please stand outside of the way if you see any of those vehicles being moved. Sometimes we get a little blind to them and just walk right over them when someone's moving, and that's pretty dangerous. So just making sure you're being aware of all of those different vehicles that are moving and keeping lots of space. And just being generally aware of your surroundings in this busy space. So that might mean taking your time. You don't need to rush, you might be trying to grab some eggs for someone in cooler number 1. And you're like, I gotta go get the eggs. And so you run in front of the pallet jack. Nope, it's okay. People can wait. We've got time. We just need to keep our bodies safe. Also, you're not here alone. If you're someone who's trying to grab something off the top shelf to stock, or you can't quite lift the heavy crate, ask around. There's lots of people around to help, whether it's a fellow volunteer or a staff person. So just being generally safe here. Other volunteer responsibilities, aside from providing excellent customer service and maintaining a safe and clean workspace, is letting staff know your limitations. If that means you can't do any lifting or you don't want to work with too many people, let us know. We don't want you to suffer in silence. Also, it's probably pretty obvious right now, we really, really, really rely on you to be here. If you can't make it, because we know things come up, please call in advance. If you cannot make it, that gives us time to try to fill your shift, but it's really critical that you just communicate with us. Please record all your hours in the volunteer sign-in book. I am positive Marcus gave you a thorough demonstration of that in your meeting with him. Also, attending 2 update trainings per year. This is a one-time orientation you'll never have to do again, but we have 4 update trainings throughout the year that increase our knowledge about what's going on in this organization, get us all on the same page, and are great continued learning opportunities. We have one coming up actually soon. Next week, Wednesday, from 2 to 4 is our annual safety training. So we go over emergency procedures. It's a really great training. We try to make sure all volunteers get to that one at some point, just so people know how to respond in an emergency. It's here at the food bank from 2 to 4 if you can make it. And then also abiding by code of conduct by respecting other volunteers, customers, staff, and anyone who walks through our doors. Back to that respect piece to end on that note. I went 1 minute over. I'm so sorry. I'm so grateful for all your time. Thank you for being here. Thanks for doing a big part in working with us on our big mission to end hunger. If you have any questions, I'm happy to hang around for another minute, or I'll see you all next time you're here, but I'm so glad I got to meet all of you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for all the comments in the chat. So sweet. All right. If there are no questions, I'm going to end the meeting. See y'all.